everyone. I'm Ada from PoisonedRock, and today or tonight we are with us René from Equilbrium. Hi René, first of all, how are you?
Hello, I'm pretty fine. It's been a long day today, but I'm looking forward to hear what you're asking me.
That's amazing. Of course, I want to know, first of all, just a brief introduction about Equilibrium, how the band born, and how it was at the beginning.
Yeah, well, actually, this year we have 20 years anniversary,
Yeah,
so
we
it's
will
been a
go.
long time.
Yeah, and about that, there is like a bonus question. We'll go through that. The new single that's really amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I mean, the funny thing is, even though it's 20 years ago, I still have very good memories how everything started. I still remember like the person like 20 years ago that asked me if I would have a band because he was organizing a fest and he knew that I'm a musician, but he didn't knew if I had a band. And I just thought, well, that would be a nice occasion just to create a new band. And I just said yes. And then my first mission would be to create a band. So, and that's how everything gets started. I mean, at the beginning, we just have been a cover band. We played Dimmu Borgir, Hypocrisy, Iron Maiden. But yeah, then things went on and we started to write our own songs.
Yeah, you started to release the first demo was just a demo. So it was I mean, you started like, because when I read your sound, your genre, it's like between folk, death, biking. So at the beginning, what sound was of Equilibrium?
Yeah, I mean, like we were really into a lot of different genres, but then there was this time where these kind of pagan Viking stuff started. So we had a lot of bands in Germany and around that had this kind of pagan theme, pagan topic with this kind of medieval folk melodies, and that was, I think, what inspired us a lot at the beginning. Yeah. So that's how we started, and that's why also our first albums sound a little bit more like folk metal, more like pagan stuff, and then we.
If I'm not wrong, was Turis Fratir, the first album.
Exactly.
Yeah. So basically, it's a Latin name. So what about the whole behind this album?
You mean behind Turis Fratir?
Yeah. The story, the topic, the composition as well, the sound that developed.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of songs on this album have already been on our first demo album. So these were really like the first songs that we wrote for Equilibrium. And then on top, we developed more during these 1-2 years where we added more symphonic and more complex songs. So I think the first album is really a nice mix between these more simple party-like songs and these more epic, longer songs. And I think it already started and made clear that we don't really want to get into just one genre. We really would like to try out things.
Yeah, because as well the following one was Sagas.
Yes.
But I know as well that you have this particular riff that take, like you can say, from the folklore or traditional German riffs. Why this choice? I mean, why you decide to use these typical riffs?
Yeah, I mean, when it came to the lyrics, our first singer, Helge, he was really a lot into these themes, into these German mythology, Nordic mythology. So he got really inspired to write these kind of lyrics, and the music that I wrote also got inspired by a lot of these folk themes, because we were just really a lot into it. Like this was this time also with all these movies then that came out, like Lord of the Rings, and of course like Gladiator and all this stuff. I mean, we were around like 18, 19, 20 years. Our youngest member was 15 years. So we really were a lot into these medieval stuff, folky stuff, and you really could hear this in the music also.
Yeah, as well. But then when we can say, when you had the death metal components in the album, when you can hear it, in which album when you can hear these components?
I think like the more albums we wrote, the more influences we got, and I think also more of these more death metal influences, like more heavy stuff. I think that came like in a little bit more later albums where we got a little bit more modern elements also, because of course as a musicians we also developed our style and we were into different things. Like in our first years we were a lot into this more fantasy stuff, pagan stuff, and then yeah, of course, like over all the years you start to listen to other stuff also, and you try to combine it. Yeah.
So basically, if you have to, because the last album is Renegade, I'm right? Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, the last album is Renegade. So if you have to make, for example, a quick journey from Renegade to Tourist Frontier, how would you make this journey? Like at the opposite, like for example, you grew up or you develop new sound or you add a new sound, how much change it?
Yeah, I think when you compare these both albums, you could think that these are two totally different bands. Because like, yeah, the first album you mentioned is basically very old schoolish folk pagan metal stuff, and the latest album is more like modern, yeah, I don't know, like a modern mixture with folk melodies, also with metalcore influences, with synthwave influences. So there's a lot of difference between these both albums. But I think if you take the albums that have been released in between, I think you really can see the steps coming from the first album, getting more modern to the latest album.
So if you want, for example, to advise an album to the fan that of course want to know more about Equilbrium, just they say, for example, not an album from the past and from just an album, they can use it just, okay, I want to listen and know the band, and this album includes everything that the band has.
Oh, that's a tough question, but
you get used to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I probably would suggest would be our album, which is called Armageddon, because I think it's a pretty good mixture between more of our old elements, but it also introduces more of the modern elements.
Yeah, so basically this is the album where you make the change, I mean, it was a huge changement for your sound and composition. And what about the topics? There is a main topic that you develop in the sound, in the lyrics, or it's just the lyrics came naturally writing?
Yeah, I mean that's also what changed, because like on our first albums we had more like these stories and tales, and then the later we went on, it became more personal. So especially also because like the first albums, the lyrics were written by our singer Helge, like the first, and then we had this album Recreatur, which was the lyrics written by one of our guitarists that also left now, and then I started to write the lyrics, and yeah, they became more personal. I mean, then I introduced stuff that touched me personally, like when it came about things about the nature, about the planet, but also like about the environment, government, about fears. So it's a lot of personal stuff actually that came up during the latest albums.
So it becomes more, we can say, actuality, things that are happening daily in our life.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's important, because it's a big journey going from epic and ancient stuff to the modern. It's like completely a jump. You were scared to make it such a huge new changement in your career, because putting new topics or new sound for the fans, for example, that were used to know the bands like epic Viking music, you had some fears that maybe the fans maybe couldn't accept that. Of course, it didn't happen, but at the time you had maybe some.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I'm pretty used to critics in general, because we brought out our first demo and then there came the first album and people said, well, we prefer the demo. And then Sagas came out and they said, well, we prefer the first album. And it went on and on. So I'm actually used to these kind of things. So I was not too scared actually. And also like every time when we made what you could call like a brave step, like we wrote, for example, Unbesiegt from Sagas, which has these South American vibes, or we have Born to be Epic on Armageddon, which has totally different vibes. So at the beginning, people were already always thinking, what is this? But then it turned out on Spotify or also live that these are like our hits. So we just understood, or also like with our song Renegades, we just understood that we just have to do what we want, and we should not get scared by comments, especially online comments. They can really be scary. But at the end, you see, I mean, you can see like on Spotify what people listen to, and you can see live how people enjoy which songs. So I think it's always necessary to stay true to yourself, actually. But like especially when it comes to Renegades, which of course is a very different album to the others, I think it was very important for us to make this step, just to get a little bit out of our comfort zone, try totally different stuff. Because then later on, when we continued to write new singles now, since we had Corona, we went to more singles instead of playing shows. And we were really able like to take our modern elements but also go back into our history and take more of our old schoolish elements and bring it together. So I think it's always a nice thing to get out of your comfort zone, try out new things, and then of course come back and just to experiment.
And always a bad publicity is always good publicity. We have to remind that all the time, all the time.
That's totally right.
But of course, like in these days going on in any platform, there is this 20th. So what about this new single that is basically for what I read is like a composition for all the past, present. It's kind of make sure to explain me better, because I was curious to know more about this new single.
Actually, this song contains some elements and some parts that already have written like many years ago, and like I have a collection with a lot of ideas that I never used and never made a song out of it. And like as I said, like during Corona, we had more time to write music and do stuff. So we thought, well, we have 20 years now, and let's just create a song with these parts and combine it with our actual way of songwriting now. And this is actually what came out. I mean, the lyrics are totally new, but in the song in general is also new. But it contains some elements of our past, and I think it's a really nice way, like for this 20 years anniversary, to just to show people where we are at the moment, and just to maybe have kind of a round of our old stuff and our new stuff.
So and you're planning to use this 20s, like we can say, jump for a new album? Are you working something new or for something new?
Absolutely. We already started also during this year to write for a new album, and we hope that it will come next year. I mean, that's the plan so far, and so far it should work out. But you never know, like with Corona and everything, you really can easily get. You really can easily get problems with. I mean, there are so many components involved, right? But that's the plan, to release a new album next year, and we are really curious about that.
Of course, and you've been touring a lot. You've been in several festivals. There are some moments in particular that stay with you. There could be a festival or gigs or just a brief moment that you remember mostly. It could be funny, just pleasant. It depends of you.
I mean, like those moments that mostly stay in your head are like these first time moments. For example, when we have been the first time playing on Wacken in Germany, or the first time on Hellfest or Grasspop, or also the first time we are to a new country where we've never been before. So that's memories that always stick in your head, and it's just the best feeling to get to a new country and for the first time to meet people that you've never been before. Like also for us, when we for the first time came to Italy, that was it was just exciting to see. How are the fans in Italy to us, and like. How would they react to the music? Like every country is different, you know. Some sing the melodies, some sing the songs, some sing the texts. And for example, like Italian people, we found out, are very melodic, so they really sing the melodies and stuff. So that's
maybe even don't knowing the words, just singing this.
So they don't know the words, they have to stick to the melody, but that's awesome.
Of course. And now just speaking a little about influences. Of course, in Equilbrium you can hear a lot of influences. But before speaking about your personal one, I would like to know about Equilibrium influences, mostly.
Yeah, I mean, it's like our music. It's a little bit like a journey. I mean, when we started, as I said, like we were listening a lot of like Dimmu Borgir.
Yeah.
That's been a huge influence. But the funny thing is, you cannot really hear it in the music itself because it's a totally different vibe. But the way how Dimmu Borgir wrote, for example, like with all these double bass, guitar riffs and stuff, that still inspired us. And I think it's always nice to have inspiration that you cannot hear directly, but you just have like these elements. And of course, like it was, especially at the beginning, a lot of soundtracks also, like Hans Zimmer soundtracks, you know, as I said, like Gladiator and this stuff. It's like, for me, it's mostly more the vibe that I get from something. It can also be like musicians that you see on the street, like from Peru or Ecuador, like with the pan flutes, and I just go by and I see this and I get this vibe, you know, and then I just keep this vibe in my head, and then one day I sit down and write a song, and then this comes to this. But yeah, like when it comes to metal, it's basically everything. I mean, it can be like Satyricon with one riff, or it can be Children of Bodom with some groove or whatever. It just comes from everywhere. So it's really hard to say for Equilibrium just to pick like specific bands. It can be everything.
Yeah, and what about you in general, your influences? I'm gonna ask you to pick 5 artists or 5 albums. It's up to you, just to be more specific. Being more specific,
yeah. That's really hard because it goes,
every time it's
20 years, 20 years of inspiration. But yeah, but I can say like. Especially for the beginning, definitely it's like Gladiator from Hans Zimmer. The soundtrack, the vibe from this album was very often an inspiration for me. And I would also say at the beginning Dimmu Borgir with they have so difficult names.
Yeah, I can understand.
And the Dingsbums, Triumph, Enthroned Darkness, Triumphant. You know, this album where Morning Palace was on. It's been a long time, right? And I would also say like Dream Theater with I think it's called Awake, the album, because like especially at the beginning I was a lot into progressive stuff, and you can hear this also in some of our songs. And I would also say when it comes to the later albums, Sempiternal from Bring Me the Horizon was a nice influence also, as well as, well, I can tell you something more. It also the Stranger Things soundtrack. Okay. That also was an inspiration.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, that's good. And if now, since you played in a lot of festivals, now I want that you are the organizer of a festival, so you have to pick the country and the bands to play with. Could be band still playing or just band retired. It's up to you. Could be just even 3 bands. You are the organizer.
Okay, how many bands?
Just, it's up to you. You can say even 5, 3, 4, 10, 11. We don't have. It's a festival.
Okay, so let's say and I can choose the country where to play.
Yeah, even imaginary. So.
Okay, well then I would say maybe well, I have never been yet. Maybe I would pick like some place in Australia, maybe just Sydney, because I've never been there. And it's a long trip. So, and I would let's say I would take 5 bands. So I would take the Scorpions.
Amazing.
And I would then I would take Baby Metal. Mm-hmm. And then I would take, let's take Dimmu Borgir. Yep. And let's take my friends from Northgard, because our guitarist Dom, he plays also there. And then I would say let's take Lord of the Lost, because we just had a really awesome tour with them, and they're really nice people and buddies from us.
That's amazing. So basically, before ending, and of course as well that you're a guitarist, I want to know, as guitarist, your influences as guitarist. So which guitarist make you, like, for example, say, okay, I want to play guitar, and this is my hero or guitar hero, or could be not also guitar hero, but which guitarist inspired you to start playing?
Yeah. So actually, like when I got the idea to play guitar, it was actually not really a guitar player that I saw. For me, it was more the sound. You know, I heard music, or I saw music on television, and I just heard this the sound of guitar, of distorted guitar, and I didn't really knew what this was, but I remember that I had dreams about this, about the sound, and when I found out, okay, this comes from a guitar, this comes from an electric guitar, I think that's 13 or 14 years old, then I just wanted to get a guitar and have the sound by myself. And that's like how I started playing electric guitar. But then, of course, I dived deeper. And then, as I said, I found out Dream Theater and then went to John Petrucci.
Yeah.
And yeah, so this was actually my influence when it came to practice more guitar and to get more into scale stuff and whatever. So during this time, I really was busy with really busy with playing guitar. I played like 8 hours a day and stuff. But then I found out, okay, well, that's cool. But then my focus shifted back to writing music. So instead of playing guitar all the time, I shifted more to write music. So I didn't really make a progress then. But John Petrucci definitely was the guy who got me into this more tricky guitar stuff.
Yeah. So before ending the interview, of course, I want to know the future project of Equilbrium. So when the fan will be able to see if there is some gigs or tour coming up?
Yeah. It's of course difficult to answer. Like for this year, we have 2 more shows planned. We have 1 show in Finland and 1 in Germany, and we hope that they will take place, of course. And we're also at the moment planning like for a tour for next autumn. But it's nothing announced yet, and of course we hope that everything will work out. It's like 1 year from now to that time almost, and a lot of things can happen, so we don't know, but we hope the best, of course, that we can play this tour. But we really hope that the live business will get a big step back next year.
Yeah, but I think that 2022 will be the year of the music, because there are so many festivals already sold out that people are again saying, we need it. Everyone needed to come back to normality a little bit. Yeah,
exactly. And this year we also had like some shows and some festivals also took place. So I'm pretty optimistic that it will be better next year.
Yeah, that's for sure. So thank you so much, René, for this interview. It was really a pleasure to interview Equilbrium, and can look forward for the future album, some live gigs. And thank you so much, and see you soon then. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.